Alright everybody, we got another video for you. This one I have not seen. It comes from the Mysterious 7 YouTube channel. Yes, I watch a lot of cop movies, arresting, murder movies. So, if you like me and you just don't want to be by yourself, watch with me, okay? React with me. So we won't be so scared and we can learn something together, okay? Go.
Hey, my girlfriend just got shot.
She got shot? Where are you at?
Birdway Trail.
Birdway Trail?
Yes. Hurry up, please.
Okay, who shot her, sir?
I don't know. I heard he got something.
This was a 911 call from a frantic man claiming he had found his girlfriend shot at his doorstep.
I heard her say, oh God, and I heard pop, 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 pop. I just told her to say, oh God, and I heard gunshots. I'm like, damn. Oh my goodness, man.
What seemed like a tragic crime of passion was just the tip of the iceberg. The real horror was yet to unfold. Behind twisted lies and buried secrets, a queue of suspects began to form, but the truth still had to be unearthed.
I promise you I'm not dead. I would hit you in your stomach.
After receiving the chilling 911 call on January 13, 2017, Warren, Michigan police rushed to the condominium where Jim Terrell Lackner reported his girlfriend, July Johnson, had been shot, unaware they were about to unravel a case far darker than it first appeared.
The only information we're getting is that she is male in the house or got shot. Not sure if somebody shot her or she shot herself. She is breathing.
July Johnson, a 34-year-old single mother, was found in a pool of blood lying in front of her car outside Jim's residence. Cops noticed multiple gunshot wounds to her torso and a single wound on her head. She was shot 7 times in total and was barely clinging to life. Her boyfriend Jim was at the scene and was immediately taken in for questioning. Detectives scanned the scene and found several shell casings on the ground, with blood splattered everywhere. A white truck registered to Jim Terrell was parked nearby, drawing immediate interest. While searching the scene, detectives discovered that July's boyfriend Jim had a curious criminal record and had previously served time in federal prison for narcotics. His criminal record and troubled past immediately positioned him as the primary suspect. The detectives approached Jim with heavy hearts and informed him that July had passed away.
I heard her say, oh God, and I heard pop, 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 pop. What was she doing outside? She getting ready to go to work. She didn't do anything, any yelling or anything? I just told her I heard her say, oh God, and I heard gunshots. I'm like, damn. Oh my goodness, man.
He didn't even cry 7 times.
Okay, I'm Detective Rushton, okay?
Okay.
Tell me what happened this morning. You've had a little bit of time to think about it. You never left your girlfriend's side. You didn't chase after her, you didn't try to get a car description, nothing like that. Okay.
What hospital y'all took her to, man?
Closest one.
And listen, she was a single mother.
Obviously, we thought of your history. Do you have anyone in that trade that was mad at you, that would have come back?
No. Man, I don't have nobody. That's out of the question. Oh, is she alive? What did they say?
There is no easy way to tell you this. Of course, you shouldn't make it.
Swear to God.
I would make this stuff up there.
She was breathing, huh? She was breathing.
The detectives and everything, they couldn't see her.
He ain't even crying.
You lost her.
No. I'm gonna go talk to her mom.
Oh, you did?
Jim said July was getting ready for work when he suddenly heard her scream, followed by gunshots. When he rushed to the door, he spotted someone in a hooded sweatshirt running away. July was still alive then, giving him hope, but her death hit him hard. Still, detectives stayed sharp, keeping Jim firmly in their sights as the prime suspect, while locking down the crime scene to catch every vital clue. As detectives searched the house, they uncovered some odd details. 7 cell phones were found. Strange, since only Jim and July lived there. Even more surprising was the large amount of cash scattered everywhere, in cardboard boxes, envelopes, drawers, and a hockey bag packed full. It took hours to transport and count, and the total turned out to be over $522,000. Though Jim owned a car wash business, which might explain some cash flow, the source of such a large amount remained unclear, pushing detectives to dig deeper. As the investigation team followed each lead carefully, they decided to search the area where Jim said the suspect had run towards. What they discovered just beyond the front yard would cast serious doubts on Jim's entire story. In the bushes, they found a pair of work gloves and a $20 bill. What caught their attention even more was when the detective dog picked up a scent, suggesting the suspect might have rushed back toward the house. This raised the detective's suspicion that Terrell might have staged the scene, firing the shot, then rushing away to create the illusion that someone else had fled. Neighbors reported seeing a hooded figure running, and the description matched Jim, who was wearing a hoodie that day. The possibility that Jim was the person running only deepened the investigation. Jim cooperated fully with investigators and showed no resistance, agreeing to be questioned the next day. While Jim hired his attorney, detectives spoke to July's relatives. Most spoke well of their relationship, except one, Julius Fry, who suspected Jim might be involved in the shooting.
Oh, sorry. If you at the door and you see your wife or your lady get in that car and you see somebody run up or whatever, what's your first reaction to do?
So you're going to run right after.
Period.
As Jim arrived for questioning, detectives wasted no time and interrogated him immediately for the truth.
I want to run through just a little bit of details to make sure I have what we talked about yesterday.
So they had a hoodie on, a dark blue, a dark black hoodie, and dark blue and black pants. They probably was about no more than 5'9", I want to say 5'7", and it was a small frame.
During the interview, detectives discovered something unusual in Jim's white truck. Meanwhile, Jim requested to have his sister present, which seemed harmless at first, but as time passed, the situation began to take an unsettling turn.
Listen, Ben asked if you could give him 5 more minutes. The commissioner came in, he's got to give him a briefing. 5 minutes.
Come on, sister, come in here.
Still with you?
Yeah.
Not your sister.
As the two talked, detectives uncovered hidden compartments in Jim's truck, along with hollow spaces and missing screws where an airbag should have been, raising serious red flags about what might have been concealed inside. But Jim seemed a step ahead. He had already warned his sister about what the detectives might find, and told her to hide anything else that could get them in deeper trouble before it was too late. The detectives uncovered a 9mm pistol with obliterated serial numbers, along with more than $6,000 in cash, giving out clear signs that something far more sinister was unfolding beneath the surface. To the detective's surprise, it turned out to be the same caliber weapon that had killed July Johnson. Jim Terrell was immediately arrested for the felony possession of a firearm.
You get charged with felony possession of a firearm and CCW. This is what's happening. Are you serious? Serious.
Though Jim had an attorney on retainer and was released almost immediately, he remained the prime suspect, as the evidence continued to mount against him. As the case grew more intense with each passing moment, detectives remained determined to get justice for July and her family. They began combing through the multiple phones recovered from Jim's condominium to keep the momentum going. What they uncovered left everyone stunned. The phones contained photos, videos, and lengthy text conversations that shed light on a tangled web of relationships. One name stood out repeatedly: Marcy Griffin. Marcy, Jim's ex-partner and the mother of his 2 children, quickly became a person of interest.
She's been stalking July for over 2 years now. She developed, from what I hear from people telling me, such a hatred for her so bad.
Around New Year's, July and Jim took a trip to Vegas, where they were believed to have made their relationship official.
I don't follow him on social media, but I guess Rio put up a status saying that, making reference to them getting married.
Okay.
I doubt if that's true, but that was the reference. From what I heard, Marcy went up to the car wash or something and was like, "You married that," because they got into it. And she said something to the effect of, "You gonna feel this."
Now, do you direct knowledge of this? Or is this from everyone?
It's just hearsay. I don't have direct knowledge.
Okay. You just told Terrell you're going to feel this?
Something to the fact that you're going to feel this and you're going to pay.
Their statements hinted at long-standing tension and jealousy, further reinforcing the suspicion that Marcy may have had a motive. Given the new lead shared by those close to Jim that he and July may have secretly gotten married, investigators felt increasingly confident that Marcy's involvement in the case was no longer just a theory, but a strong lead worth pursuing. Then, on January 14th, 2017, just one day after July's murder, detectives began checking nearby businesses to see if any surveillance cameras had captured something useful during the time of the homicide. One of those locations was a large commercial gym, the LA Fitness Center, located closest to the path the suspect had reportedly taken. Investigators managed to obtain security footage from the gym. Although the footage wasn't crystal clear, investigators spotted an SUV pulling into a parking spot near the trail at 6:45 a.m. Shortly after, a man wearing a dark hoodie with a medium build matching both Jim's and a witness's description was seen stepping out of the SUV from the passenger side before the shooting. About 30 minutes later, the same man was seen on camera running back toward the SUV with a slight limp toward the right side. He got into the passenger side, and moments later the vehicle sped away. With this footage in hand, detectives no longer believed the killer had acted alone. The man seen exiting and re-entering the SUV wasn't the driver, meaning at least 2 individuals were involved. While the video didn't capture everything, it revealed 2 crucial details. First, the attack was coordinated, and second, it pointed toward a specific route the unseen suspect might have taken. When officers followed this route, they didn't just uncover tire tracks or footprints. What police found along that path changed everything.
We found a firearm, which was a 9mm handgun.
Michigan State Police Crime Lab was able to determine that this was our murder weapon.
This discovery also confirmed something critical. The weapon found on the path was the actual murder weapon. The gun Jim had earlier was officially ruled out. Technically, that cleared his weapon from the evidence list, but Jim himself was far from off the hook. His behavior, the strange things inside his home, none of it sat right with the detectives. One thing was certain now: this wasn't a random act of violence. July hadn't been targeted by a stranger. She knew her killer. Detectives knew their next move had to count, and the footage was their only card left to play. They began showing it to everyone who had crossed paths with July: family, friends, colleagues, and even acquaintances. As the clips made their rounds, one name began to surface: Dominic Edgerson. Suspicion around Dominic had grown, especially since he was linked to Marcy Griffin, and he also walked with a noticeable limp, just like the man caught on the CCTV footage. Then, 7 days later, on January 20th, 2017, Dominic was called in for interrogation.
You know of the Griffins?
Yeah.
And you know of Marcy Griffin?
Yes.
What's the last time you had any contact with Marcy Griffin?
I can't recall, actually.
Give me a ballpark. Is it 1 day ago?
No, I haven't seen her in years.
Years?
Years.
Okay, so you're saying you've had no contact with Marcy in years?
Yes.
None whatsoever?
None whatsoever.
Okay.
Although Dominic denied ever speaking to Marcy, detectives weren't convinced. What mattered now was his timeline of what he was doing when July was murdered. He claimed he was with his girlfriend, Charlene Smith.
We went back to her house.
Where did you stay the night?
Yes, I stayed there that night.
You went to bed around 12, 1 o'clock?
Yes.
I'm going to switch gears here and I'll tell you what we're really looking into. We're part of the Major Crimes Unit Violent Crimes Task Force.
Yes.
And there's a more serious issue here, and we're looking into a homicide. Okay. Through our investigation, talking to some people, they're pointing a finger at you.
That's incorrect.
Okay. And that's why I'm concerned with this timeline difference. Okay.
Detectives raised concerns about timeline discrepancies because while Dominic was being interviewed, his girlfriend, Charlene Smith, was in a separate room, offering conflicting accounts of his whereabouts.
Do you remember the night of the 12th, which was Thursday? Did he stay the night with you?
Yes.
Or did he stay at your mom's house?
My mom's.
What time did everyone go to bed that night?
Well, I went upstairs and he went upstairs with me about 11.
However, her account would change after cops revealed a crucial detail they hadn't told her earlier.
I'm going to be honest with you at this point. We're not here doing interviews concerning B&E. We're doing a homicide investigation.
Oh my God, who got it? I was trying to lie for him for his probation, but I can tell you for a fact he's always at my address.
Okay.
For that. So that's what we want. That's what I was.
That's what we want.
Yeah, I was just trying to lie so he won't get in trouble for being at my house. Sometimes, with his
I
daughter.
told you I'm not the bedroom police. I could care less.
After the interview, detectives collected a DNA swab from Dominic for further analysis, but just as the process wrapped up, they received a call from his probation officers informing them that Dominic had violated the terms of his probation. That's when he was officially taken into custody, not for the murder, but for the violation. Still, this gave detectives something they desperately needed: time. With Dominic behind bars, they began closely monitoring his jail calls.
Hello? Yeah. Can you still question me about that damn homicide? Yeah. So they put me in the back room. They said something about a murder. I think they set me up. I don't understand what's going on. They're not doing something right. They're wasting their time asking you about why the real murder probably somewhere in California now. You told them to come to my house. That's what I need to find out. I know. I'm still thinking about that.
In the recorded calls, Dominic sounded genuinely shocked to hear that he was a homicide suspect. But whether that shock was real or just an act, knowing the police were listening, remained a lingering question. At that point, the only piece of evidence that could definitely place him at the scene was the DNA swab. Then came the results from the Michigan State Crime Lab. Despite everything that made Dominic look suspicious, his DNA was not a match. With no solid leads left, detectives continued their forensic analysis, digging through the phones of everyone who had been brought in during the investigation. That's when they stumbled upon something unexpected, a video that would change everything.
I located a video file that depicted Marcy Griffin and Latner having an argument at Mr. Latner's car wash.
I don't know who real did down here.
They ain't gonna tell.
Listen, who cares? What's the secret? I'm not like.
If I got me, put it.
Hey, dog. You scared? You scared? You scared? Y'all remember this conversation? I promise you on my dad. I'm gonna go and hit you in your stomach with this.
Marcy was yelling at someone, and it wasn't just anyone. It was Jim, her ex-boyfriend. The reason was strange. Marcy had just found out that Jim had gotten married to July Johnson. That same week, Marcy was called in for questioning, and her responses would either bring clarity or raise even more questions.
Just real quick, so I know we're talking to the right person. You are Marcy Griffin?
I am.
Okay, Marcy, do you have any idea why we're here to talk to you today?
I do, but I have an attorney. Because every time something happens to him, it comes to me.
Okay.
It's been going on just like the first time something happened with us.
And you're talking about Terrell?
Yes.
Jim Terrell?
She remained calm and appeared well prepared as the detectives spoke with her lawyers through a phone conference.
If she's a suspect, then I'm not going to let her say anything anyway. She's a suspect.
Right now, she's a material witness. I mean, if she's going to be a suspect, I suppose there would depend on her involvement if there is one.
I don't trust you to tell me if she's a suspect, though. If she's a suspect, then she's going to exercise her right to make back.
Okay.
At this point, detectives couldn't do much, but deep down, they knew she was connected somehow. After the interview, police seized her phone, and what they found inside only deepened the suspicion.
When we looked at Marcy's phone, we discovered her phone had been erased on January 13th, the day of the shooting. Despite the phone being erased, we can still see who she's communicating with based on the record from the cell service provider.
Among the data, one phone number stood out, someone who had been in constant contact with Marcy on the day of the homicide. In fact, the last message she received on the night of January 12th and the first one the following morning came from the same number. That discovery was enough to push detectives to obtain a search warrant for the phones linked to that number.
Probably a quarter mile of where the homicide had taken place. We also noticed that phone was turned off just prior to the homicide and turned back on just after the homicide.
The identity of the person on the other end of the phone was still unknown, but detectives discovered it was registered under a shell company name. The real concern, though, was that the phone had gone completely dark for 2 weeks. It was the only solid lead they had, and being locked out of it felt like the case slipping through their fingers, until suddenly, it wasn't. In the early hours of February 4th, 2017, at exactly 1 a.m., the silence broke. The phone that had vanished without a trace had just turned back on.
The detectives established surveillance on the residence where the phone was pinging, and then they observed a subject leaving that house in a white SUV. We found that the ping data was following the path of the SUV.
The SUV they had been following turned into a parking lot, and officers moved in quickly, rushed behind it, and sprang into action. As soon as they spotted the man, officers brought him into the patrol car for further questioning. Inside the SUV, they identified him as George Ryder, an established businessman in Detroit. He had 2 cell phones on him, both of which were seized. Then, officers found a third phone tucked away inside the vehicle.
You ever been arrested before?
Yeah.
For what?
I've been involved in drugs. I've been involved with armed robbery when I was a kid. I'm up to 40 years ago.
Do you know a girl named Marcy?
No.
You don't know Marcy Griffin?
No.
I know that one of the phones you had on you is called Marcy Griffin hundreds of times. So, I know you know her. Now, again, as I explained, this is a homicide investigation, okay?
Well, I know her. I mean, I don't know about her name. No, I don't know.
We both know that's not the truth.
Well, I don't know Marcy by that name.
You know that girl?
Even after seeing her image, he denied ever knowing Marcy Griffin, but the data on their phones told a very different story. In fact, he had saved her in his contacts as Pretty Woman. Further digging revealed they were just at the beginning of a romantic relationship. Marcy and George were taken into custody on February 23, 2017. On just the second day of Marcy's custody, she confided in her friends, claiming she was being targeted and insisting on her innocence.
Hey! Why you see that? Kalani looking bad. Y'all straight, just chill out. Yeah, prime suspect. Hold on. He a prime suspect lie. He been lying on me. That's why I'm in here. Listen, all they got is here. All because of he and his friends keep calling and telling them people stuff. Everybody chill out. Everybody quit talking, and everything gonna be all right.
However, that was the truth. Still needed to be verified. Now, with both of them behind bars, a shocking revelation came on March 24th when George confessed during a phone call that he had known Marcy for at least 2 weeks.
She's my girlfriend. That's what I'm saying. How see your girlfriend? You ain't know her. I don't think it's 2 weeks. Fine, what? Got it all twisted up.
Now, the problem was that Marcy hadn't been seen at the crime scene, yet it was becoming almost certain she was involved somehow. Meanwhile, George's appearance didn't match the man caught on the CCTV footage. This led police to a chilling conclusion. There was a third person. Detectives then turned their attention to another lead, a mysterious contact linked to George on the day of the murder named Eric Gibson. They had to uncover if and how he was connected to Marcy and George. Crucial calls from the murder day, mixed with denial, made things chaotic. Detectives raced to find him before he vanished, especially after arrests linked to him. They discovered that Eric was living in a house owned by George. In fact, he was pulled over earlier on January 12, 2017, just a day before the shooting.
Mr. Gibson had been pulled over on January 12th, the day prior to the shooting.
Go back windows down, please. Let's search real quick, make sure you don't have nothing on you. We'll be good, okay?
More importantly, the car he was in matched the one seen on the CCTV footage, which belonged to George. This only solidified the connection between them. But Eric Gibson was about to become more than just a connection. He was about to become the key to solving everything. With this, they took Eric's DNA, and it cleared everyone before him on the suspect list. The DNA matched the gloves found in the wetland and the murder weapon. The DNA was confirmed, but proving the connection between Eric, Marcy, and George was still crucial. To determine whether the other two had anything to do with the murder, detectives began monitoring everyone's jail calls closely.
That's driving me crazy. No, don't let it drive you crazy, because we're going to get that money one way or another. One way or another, we're going to get it. Don't worry about that. What's on your mind?
Getting these lawyers in place where I can fight this fight I got to fight.
I thought it was going to be in a little private setting where I could show you something.
No, I could have told you that. So I would like to see it, too.
Yeah, you better hurry up and get on about it here, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle.
Mom, I love you, Mom. You love me. You do the right thing. Tell Marcy, any money that Frank gives him to give it to you, and I want you to hold on. You need to talk to him about that. It look like you gonna be in there, because I ain't got no money. And Frank, man, went the other way. So you already see how that's laying.
The calls were alarming, to say the least, and none of them showed even a hint of remorse for what had happened. But one crucial detail did emerge. The man Eric kept referring to as Frank was actually George. It was a code name used to mark his identity. This tied the two men even closer. As time went on, the three began to unravel in their own ways during the calls.
Take me off your phone. I don't even have my location on, though. They can turn it whenever they want to.
But the thing is, I'm trying to figure out what... Oh, I asked him when he's here, because I'm trying to figure out what they got.
Just ask him when he gets here.
Yeah. He said, when you talk to your friends, talk about anything. Do not discuss the case. Do not sign nothing. Don't write nothing. Don't do nothing.
Okay.
Then, in May 2019, the trial began, and the truth finally came to light. Marcy Griffin, driven by jealousy over July Johnson, had confided in George Ryder. In response, George set a deadly plan in motion by hiring Eric Gibson to carry out the murder. With all the pieces in place, prosecutors laid out the chilling chain of events, how emotion turned into conspiracy, and conspiracy into cold-blooded execution. In the end, all three, Marcy Griffin, George Ryder, and Eric Gibson, were convicted of first-degree premeditated murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Justice had taken its time, but in the end, it spoke loud and clear. July's voice was stolen forever, but the truth refused to stay buried. Now, her killers face a lifetime of silence.